everybody? Welcome to the Straight Out of BS podcast. Happy 420 wherever you are, however you're celebrating. If you're not celebrating, still happy 420. It is a holiday, in my opinion. And yeah, I hope you had a wonderful day regardless. And I want to thank you guys for all of your continued support. Thank you to the Patreon members. Thank you to listener support. Thank you to the people that have joined the channel. Monthly, it just like really means the world to me. I never expected to get any donations, so really just means the world to me. It's awesome. So thank you guys for that. Thank anybody that's interacting with the video in any way. It really helps the algorithm. And we're actually starting to gain some traction now. So I'm having other people that are not involved in the industry watching the videos, leaving comments and like reaching out to me and being like, how can I get involved? So we are making a difference. So please keep on liking, sharing, subscribing, interacting with the video. It really means the world to me. And I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or anything like that. So on the count of 3, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what year.
My name is Jenny Travis. Was Jenny Reed, and I went to Morava Academy from May of 1998 until November of 1998, and then I went to Spring Creek Lodge from November 1998 until February of 2000. So I was there for 22 plus months. Yeah.
Okay. And can you walk us through like how your childhood was and what led up to you being sent away?
So I was just a really awkward kid, and my parents were older parents, especially for the 80s. They were born or they were like 38 when I was born, and they were kind of caught up in their own lives. I don't want to disparage them because I know they're going to watch this, but they're in their 80s now. But yeah, so they weren't really around, and then they divorced when I was 8, and I just became really self-conscious. I had a lot of self-confidence issues, a lot of struggles with depression, anxiety, extreme social anxiety. And so when I was 17, things had gotten really bad. I was trying to find a group to hang out with, and I was smoking a lot of weed, but that's about it. And I had some other stuff happen in my personal life, and I asked my mom if I could go to a private school. And she found Morava in the back of Sunset magazine. He had like a troubled teen. And so she got all the brochures. She got a video about the program. She let me watch it. And it looked all good, from the, advertisements. And so I said, sure, let's go to Europe. And when I arrived at the facility, the woman who picked me up from the airport had like all these piercings. I was like, oh, this isn't gonna be too bad. And then I was the 6th girl. I think I was the 12th kid, but I didn't even see the boys for, oh God, I don't even know. And then when we saw them, we had to go like this, so we could. I only saw them in the seminars, and at the end. But yeah, so she brought me in. They locked the doors, strip searched me, the whole work. It was a little bit traumatizing. Yeah. And honestly, I just watched your interview with Marie, and she mentioned me being her buddy and stuff. So I'm glad she said some nice things. Yeah, it was wild. So, and yeah.
Did you get transported?
No. I agreed to go. I got on the plane, everything. Changed planes by myself. I'd flown before then.
Because you thought that it was going to be something that it wasn't.
I thought it was going to be something cool.
Okay.
I did. And I really, so when Morava started, because it was brand new, they had like a discount. So it was way cheaper than the other programs. I think it was $19,000 a year compared to what I think Tranquility Bay was like 72 or something. It was a lot. So it was more affordable than a lot of the other private schools. That was how my parents kind of sold it to me too. They're like, oh, you're going to be in Europe. The brochure had like going out, Vienna.
Yeah.
No, no. So, I don't know if you want to know about like Morava. It was interesting listening to Marie, and same with Alana, who you interviewed quite a while ago, and their memory of the program, because I don't really recall a whole lot like details of it. I do remember the German when she was talking about because I remember when Jade and is it Casey came in, but I didn't remember that's as soon as she said that I was like, oh yeah, because I do remember speaking German only. And then I remember them taking away our condiments. It also changed the music that we listened to when we ate. But I thought it was a lot stricter than Spring Creek, just in terms of like, we couldn't speak at all. We couldn't look in mirrors. We certainly couldn't have like gel or anything. My hair was this short when I went in. And so I had a mullet, for a good chunk once it grew out, So it was a little bit, I don't want to say a little bit, I don't want to underscore it. It was really difficult. The food was delicious, as she mentioned, and I actually got a lot out of Morava. It was, it was a really, in a way, because of them taking everything away from you, it's kind of like becoming a nun or something. You get so appreciative of everything you have. You really get some humility from it. So for me, that's what I gained from Morava. So when it was shut down, I told my mom, I was like, I think I'm fine now. I think I'm ready. And I'm still shocked watching the documentary, reading everything, because it was in the New York Times when Morava shut down about the abuse that like the parents, I get it that they were manipulated and everything, but you would think they were reading like newspaper articles about our abuse that they would think, well, maybe it's not a good idea to keep them in these places,
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think.
That's not really the case though. So yeah, it was Morava was crazy. And then when we were sent to Spring Creek, it was now I remember it differently, and I was there so much longer. I remember Marie being there so much longer than she said she was, but it was I thought Spring Creek was a freaking nightmare, and I hated that place from day one. I've done everything I can to not think about it. Lots of traumatizing things happened there. I was never like good at doing the program. I couldn't put my friends down. Was never good at that. I in order to advance, like I ended up graduating because I was well past 18. I was almost 19 when I was one of the first girls to go to the 18-year-old house. And they finally, I don't know if I just aged out, I remember making it to level 4, and then suddenly I graduated. So did they have gravel pit when you were there?
We played in the gravel pit and stuff like that. I blacked out. I realize now that I blacked out a lot of the stuff, so possibly.
Yeah.
I know we were in there a couple times, but I was getting my ass beat every day, and I didn't even remember that until recently. So, yeah.
There a lot longer than how long were you in the program for?
22 months. I was also the last person to graduate before it got shut down.
That's crazy. Yeah. I can't imagine what it was like in the later days, because when I was there, it was before like the girl in the bathroom. What's her name? Is it Kylie or
Carly?
Carly. Yeah.
That was a little before my time, but
like it couldn't have been, because I think it was like 2004.
Yeah, I was there in January 23rd, 2007 for 22 months.
Wow, you really were one the last. Yeah. And things were different. It's like even in the documentary, like the seminars were totally different. the way they set them up, that thing with the palms up, palms down was the
Yeah,
first day.
I don't really remember that.
Yeah.
I don't. But I mean, maybe we did it, but that was also in the Breakpoint seminar. I think that if you chose out, and I also don't remember being part of that. But then again, I only chose out of one of the seminars, and that was Principles, which was extremely like fully reliant on the homework. So if you messed up a single thing, you had to literally follow the directions to a T. And if you messed up a single fucking thing, you would choose out of the seminar automatically. Like literally, people wonder where I get my fucking OCD from. It's like shit like that. It's like one fucking thing. You can't have one thing wrong. Nothing. And it's just like the whole program was like that.
It really, and I think for me, because I already had like intense anxiety about people, right? I thought that everybody was judging me all the time, and so I was like crippling. Like I couldn't go outside. I felt like everybody was laughing at me or making fun of me. I still feel that way. And then you go to this place where they legit do it, and they tell you this is what you do wrong, and the whole feedback crap. I mean, it still messes with me. So there's things that still linger because you have all these fears and you think they're not valid, and that somehow is gonna help you get past it, and then they validate it basically by saying, yeah, we all do think about those things. I don't know.
It's like we graduated from being yelled at physically, and now I just deal with the fucking critic in my goddamn head all the time, giving me feedback about how I shouldn't fucking open up and have a good time at this event because I don't know the people, and I'm just like, I don't deserve it or whatever the fuck it is.
Right.
So now that's taken the place of people yelling at me physically.
No, that's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah, I still think of it. And when I was just earlier today, I said I should try, and I was like, oh, don't use the word try. I'm like, I can't believe that I still do that. Like, don't say all the things they used to tell us. Like the other day, I told someone like, as a joke about based on results.
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason. There are no accidents. A bunch of bullshit.
Oh my God, they stick with you. It was full, that part, especially the seminars, full brainwashing. It was like the rest of the program was just a money grab. I mean, especially at Spring Creek. I don't know if you felt that way when you were there. There was like, I don't know, was Mike Linderman there when you were there?
It sounds really familiar. I'm pretty sure he was.
The only actual licensed therapist on the whole campus. And like, yeah, that was it. So that was the therapy. Those were the professionals. And the rest of it was just like, get in line, get yelled at. We don't know what we're doing. But the gravel pit was an actual thing where they would wake you up in the middle of the night and take you to this pit, and you'd have to move rocks. Well, people would stand like on this cliff edge and yell at you, saying things about, the way you came across, feedback basically, but they would be super derogatory. For me, like, it was like spoiled brat, or that I act like a little kid. I got that a lot. Trying to think of some of the other, but I had friends who were called whores. The second day of accountability used to be where you would just go into a circle and act out your grungy. It was like a 10-foot circle, and they had a girl like get on her back and spread her legs. I am not joking. Like, so traumatizing. Some of the stuff they did, and it sounds like maybe they tried to.
Well, they toned it down. They tried to tone it down.
Yeah. It's still like full, totally inappropriate things to do, and you got so used to it, it seemed normal. When Marie was talking about the girl that was kept in OP in Morava, like the whole time we were there. I mean, I witnessed this girl. She was duct taped. I will never say her name, but if you can, maybe I'll private message you so you can talk to her, because I can't imagine what she went through. 6 months just duct taped and on her stomach in a room. And apparently, according to her, like, she came down and we were supposed to vote her back in. And we didn't. I don't remember this. I feel like I wouldn't have done that, but I mean, who knows? I was so brainwashed. She wasn't working the program. She was just a normal kid, you know? It's I don't know. I didn't think, I really felt like, and I don't know if you felt like this too. I really felt like I was over it and it wasn't bothering me anymore. Like, okay, it's been enough time. But when I watched the documentary, it was like, oh my God, I had to watch it in spurts. It kept making me like shake. It's like, God, totally re-traumatizing. And it was so accurate.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I've always known that the place really fucked me up because instantly when I got out of the program, I jumped right into hard drugs. So it's like, why did I jump right into like the worst possible shit I possibly could? Like, why did I latch onto that like right away? Oh, I don't have to feel anything anymore? Okay, bet. I'm not going to ever feel anything anymore then.
Because that's exactly it.
And so, for me, I've always known that it fucked me up. But like, I don't even remember like a lot of the stuff that happened to me there. I'm realizing now. And like with the documentary coming out, I just feel like for me personally, it was just extremely validating. And it was hard for me to watch personally because also probably because I do these interviews and I've heard probably everything that somebody could tell me by this point, and I've seen a lot in my life too. But it definitely affected me. It was just extremely validating for me. It was like, yes, they finally have something that's physical. It's like on a streaming platform, right? And so people are actually seeing what I actually went through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know for a lot of people, it affects everybody differently. You know, some people are going to cry through it, and a lot of people did. I cried a little bit, but just some people were bawling, and it's going to affect everybody differently. Some people don't have any real effect at all, you know? So it just affects people differently.
Lots of people who like felt like, hey, it really did save their life and good for them, you know?
And they deserve a voice too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because they're not bad people.
No. And if they got something good out of it, that's fantastic, you know? I can see the positive in maybe it's in design, but it wasn't really how it, at least for me, you know? And it's funny because had I stayed home, I don't know, I was not in high school. I dropped out. So I don't know if I would have graduated. The whole transcripts thing was kind of a nightmare, but because when it was still open, I got a degree. So I didn't need my transcript, but even now my current college requires it. And I don't have one. It doesn't exist, right? What do you tell them? I had to talk to the dean at one of my colleges, like, hey, it doesn't exist. What do you mean? You know? So I don't know. It sits in there. And while the documentary was incredibly validating, I also found one part of it that was a little frustrating is that I've been telling my parents like what really happened there all this time, and it was like it wasn't that bad, you know. I'm sure it couldn't have been that bad. And then they saw the documentary, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, well, it's like, how long has it been? 26 years or whatever. It's not, I don't know. It doesn't really take away from, I have a lot of resentment, I think, still for that period, and the distrust with my parents. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I definitely do. And I also want to point out, when I said earlier that they deserve a voice too, is like people that got positive out of the program. I just want to say this for my own just like thing. Like, I'm not saying people that actively promote programs. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that may have gotten something positive out of the program, or maybe that it completely was positive for them. I'm not saying people that are pro-program. That's not what I'm saying. Because most of them will tell you too that it's fucked up. Most of them, even if they got in a positive experience, most of them will too say it's fucked up. You know what I mean?
Parts of it that they're like, whoa, yeah. And there's kind of like that, because we kind of got used to it being normal. Like, we got so accustomed to some of the things that they were doing. It takes a lot to get that out of your head, you know.
Oh yeah.
I still, I'm like, maybe it wasn't that bad, you know. I still wrestle with it. But all I can go on is that now, to this day, I still have some residual things that came from that experience. So for me, it wasn't.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
When you got to Morava, do you remember them buddying you up with anybody or showing you a
No,
physical rule manual? What do you
I
remember
do.
when you got there?
I don't remember who my buddy was, and forgive me if for whoever's watching this, who's going, because of course Marie remembered me. There was only 6 other people or 5 other people, so it had to have been one of them. Ooh, I'm trying to think. There was, I think it was, oh, I can't remember. I do remember being strip searched, and I had a tongue piercing, and I took it out. I had a clear one, so because I knew that they were probably going to make me take it out, so I didn't say anything. I took out I had other piercings, and I took those out. But I kept that one in, and then as time went on, I started to feel guilty, like they were going to catch me or I was going to get in trouble. So I took it out, and I took a hairbrush bristle and I shoved it in there, and it got massively infected. So I had this swollen tongue. I managed to, I'm obviously alive, so
Yeah.
somehow I evaded my body, but they never knew. I flushed that piercing down the toilet. I do remember that. You know, I just remember like being extremely shocked. It was just the extent of the rules, and like I remember some of the corrections I got in the early days. I kept them and I couldn't find them to show you, but I have some of them, like showing her belly button, smiling too much, you know, stuff like that. Stupid stuff. I know. I kept all my my letters from that time frame. I was just reading through them the other day. I was like so I was so, because even though they were reading it, like the people who read it were Czech. So I feel like we could have gotten away with writing more because maybe they wouldn't understand, but I was so scared to death of breaking any of the rules. Yeah.
Did you have to speak another language there?
We did. We had to speak German, but not right away. And it's funny because, so I had the only, as far as I know, copy of the promotional video for Morava. I put it on Facebook, or I didn't. My friend John put it on Facebook. And there was a German teacher that came in. He was American, and I love that guy. He was the best. But, and he's in the promotional video. But I don't think he came in until I'd been there for like 2 months. So for the first 2 months, we didn't speak German. But we were they were so strict about not speaking at all. So we only spoke in groups, and like our bathroom, I remember this, like we were restricted about when we could use the bathroom and stuff. So you couldn't, you know, you'd have to ask, but it had to be a specific time. Mm-hmm. So I remember like random stuff like that. But yeah, and once we learned German, we had to, we only spoke German outside of group. So I think it was supposed to be immersive, but here's the funny thing is, like, no one in Czech speaks German. They speak Russian or Czech. So yeah, it wasn't beneficial. It's like, I understand not learning Czech, because like how often are you going to use it, I suppose, unless you're in Czech, but maybe Russian, but we certainly didn't. So even though it was a good concept, like I don't know if it helped anybody actually learn the language, you know, other than how do I cross, like, oh yeah.
Did they have like an upper levels at Morava like they do at Spring Creek?
Well, they would have had an upper level, like, but there wasn't enough time. They brought in a girl from another program. I'd been there for a little bit when she came in, and she was like a level 5 or something. She was the only one above level 3. When I left Morava, at the very end, this is a funny story. Accountability was going as it shut down. So like, I think it was the next day after accountability, it shut down. So me and I think 2 other people made it to the second day of accountability, but because it was only 3 people, I guess it wasn't enough people to do the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so David Gilcrease, and he shut it down. Like, that was it. Not that we were chose out or whatever, but I never finished the second day. So like, when I got to Spring Creek, I was like, oh my God, I'm almost level 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just almost finished accountability, and it was a hot nightmare. They were awful, in my opinion, at Spring Creek, because of the upper levels, maybe, because we were all level 3 and below. We weren't used to having, junior staff. I can't believe I remember that term, but there was no upper staff telling us what to do. And suddenly there's all these people, and they were so mean. So yeah. So no, I guess not really.
Okay. And were there seminars at Morava?
There was all the way up to accountability. So it wasn't every month though. Like, it was at Spring Creek. It was, because we were so far away, it was every 6 weeks. It's funny, the guy who they were talking about in the documentary who started Morava, is it Ralph Atkins? I think it was his son came to the program for a brief period. And yeah, he was there for a brief second during one of the seminars. It was always, I think only David Gilcrease came too. I think it was just him. Yeah. But yeah, I just did Discovery Focus and that accountability, and I think that's all we had time for before it was gone.
Okay.
So,
and
yeah.
how did you get to Spring Creek from Morava? How did that transport happen?
Well, there was a group of parents. I think there was, like, it rolled out, and I don't remember this part. There was a group of parents that came and took one group, and then another group, and then we were the last group. And so they took us, and this is the part I don't remember. The only thing I remember is that I was in the middle row of one of those giant planes. and then somehow we got from New York, and we flew to Missoula, and my mom met me there. That was the first time I'd seen her, and I remember she took me to Sbarro in the airport, and I couldn't order. Like, I don't know if you felt this too, like, interacting with normal people.
Yeah.
It was really challenging. It's still, to this day, I get like kind of anxious when I have to order food.
Yeah.
I so isolated, right? So yeah, it was. And then from there, I was only with my mom, I think, just the day. I don't even think we went. I don't think we stayed. Maybe we stayed in a hotel overnight. I don't remember. And then she took me to Spring Creek. I know I continually asked her to take me home, but I was not one of the lucky ones to get pulled early,
Okay. And when you got there, you were level 4?
No, I was still level 3. I think, it was a focus that you had to pass to get to level 4, or was it?
Yeah, focus.
Yeah, it was focus. I may have been, but I was put into accountability again, like 2 weeks after I got there, and we were all like a hot mess from Morava, and we did the chair thing, And they voted me, like, you remember it was like percentages, like whether you could move on or not, make it to the second day, all your peers, and you're standing on the chair. Do you recall all this? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And they voted me
Yeah,
like,
I'm pretty sure accountability became principles. That was the one seminar I chose out of.
oh, see, yeah. They must have gotten rid of the whole circle thing.
Was it reliant on your homework? Like you had to follow a set of directions like to a T? Was that what it was?
I do vaguely remember that. Where was it where you had to write all the way across?
The homework had to be perfect. Like you couldn't mess up.
You couldn't mess up a line, and there couldn't be any white space. Isn't that right? Like,
yeah,
it had to be single space, really tiny, and it had to be. God, I remember it being like a stupid amount of pages. None of us slept. I don't remember how many
that was
pages.
the one seminar where everybody would stay up the entire night looking over their fucking homework and make certain that they had everything positive and all fucking. I went through like 2 or 3 times. I can't remember how many, but at least 2, maybe 3. And every time I would look over my homework and I would think that I would have everything perfect, and they would nitpick and find one little thing, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, you tried, but choosing out."
Did you think that like other people could get through and it didn't make sense, like you were being picked on in a way?
Well, I mean, I feel like that seminar, almost everybody got chosen out of, because at least when I was there, because everybody would tell me all the time that they're like, because I got through all my I rebelled for the first year that I was there. So by the time I started working my program, I was like, beast mode, I'm just going to get through everything. So I got through all my seminars the first time for that reason. And fucking, that was the one seminar that I chose out of, like the one seminar. And a lot of people that I talked to too, that had like gotten through their seminars, like the first time, that was the one that fucked them up. So like that, like I feel like they do that on purpose. And I feel like maybe there isn't such thing as actually perfect homework. Maybe they just like find something if there isn't something, or just like make something if there's nothing.
That's exactly what I,
I looked over my homework like 15, 20 times before I fucking turned it in. Like there's no fucking way.
Yeah. Well, it's like that palms up one. I mean, they would come up and whisper in your ear and they'd be like, "So how are you feeling?" And so I have already done it, right? I already did it. So I knew that I was supposed to just surrender. So they would come up and whisper and I'd be like, "Oh, I feel great. I feel so calm," so I could stop. And it never worked. It never worked. I ended up doing that 3 times. This, 8 hours, 9 hours, and never figured out whatever it was that was like the magic words. But I would look around and other people were going, and I'm like, what are they saying? It's like the homework thing. Like the people that maybe got through, like, what did they just make some predetermination that this person was, I don't know. I don't want to say good enough, but.
Or has been through it like 2 or 3 times. Are we finally going to push him through this time and finally give him like level 5? Because I'm pretty sure principles was the one thing you had to do before you could vote up to level 5.
I think that's true because it was accountability for us. I think, that was, I think accountability was by far the most difficult to get out of.
Did you guys do keys after that? Did you do keys?
Yeah, we did do keys.
Then accountability for sure was principles then.
Yeah.
Because it went orientation, discovery, focus, principles, and then I had to do like 2 or 3 keys seminars.
Yeah.
So accountability must have become principles.
It must have been. And we didn't have an orientation. We just went straight into discovery. It was, so they obviously like, and if I remember correctly, keys and accountability were only 2 days.
Yeah, they're shorter seminars.
Yeah.
Harder to get through. Yeah. Keys wasn't really hard to get through. Keys was actually really easy for me. Like when I did the keys seminars, I was actually kind of surprised because I remember one was like about like relationships for me. And then like one of them was about like communication or something like that. I'm not like certain on that, but.
Yeah. I don't even remember them, but I remember that I had to do another one, and I'm assuming that, and then we had the PCs. I'm assuming you guys had PC 1, PC 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know I made it through them. Like the one I remember the most is accountability, because it was.
I remember one thing I do remember about the Keys seminars, and I just remember this now, is that they had us in this one process, go up to somebody that you don't really talk to or have never talked to in the program. They more so they wanted you to talk to somebody you never once interacted with and tell them, or it was something like that, but they wanted you to go up to them and tell them a secret about you that they don't know yet. And by that point in the program, like everybody that knows you in the program is going to know fucking everything about you. So you literally like, you have to like, for me, there was still some shit that I hadn't still told anybody. So I was like, okay, yeah, this shit actually happened too. But for most people, it's like, what the fuck do you even say then? Like, what the fuck? Like, these people have been through seminar with you. Like, what?
Yeah.
They know everything about you.
You're literally just stripped bare in those things. I mean, there are no secrets. It was so, we were so exposed. It's like, God. Do you know what your stretch was? Do you remember?
Ricky Martin, Livin' La Vida Loca.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I was the girls just want to have fun, the Cyndi Lauper, which, to be honest, I don't really get, because I'm pretty out there. I think I would have done better. Yeah,
they kind of like missed the gun with a lot of those.
I think they did. I think they really did. You know, it's funny. When my mom went to the Focus, she got the same one.
I just wonder if they just like smoked a bowl of crack and said, "Okay, I think you look good as a cross dresser. You look good as fucking, you know, whoever, like Ricky Martin. Yeah. You know." It's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, where did you come up with these fucking ideas?
I am quite certain. Yeah, I am quite certain it was like just a little humiliation sprinkle in there, you know? Who can we take down a notch? Like, really? Especially for those of us who really just are trying. Like, genuinely, there was lots of people who were genuinely trying to be better people, trying to succeed. And it was like, the humiliation factor of the whole process was, for me, the most like, you know, memorable, uncomfortably memorable part of the whole experience.
What level did you get to before you left?
Well, I graduated, so I must have made it to 6. But I'll tell you, when I turned 18, I stayed for a couple months.
At the 18 and over?
No, this is before that 18-year-old and over house was even existed. So I stayed, and then one day, I don't know, I got in trouble for something, I can't even remember, and I was just sick of it. So I decided to just say fuck it, and I sang really loudly during like whatever that gym time was, and I was like singing obnoxiously. I decided I'm just gonna leave. And we only could wear, I remember there being snow on the ground, but I only had my slippers, you know, like the slides. And so I just started walking, and I think it was Chafin. I'm pretty sure it was Chafin. Pulled up beside me in his white van. And he said, listen, you need to come back. I'll get you out quick. It was something like that. He said, I'm going to give you a job at the florist in town, and you can go to the 18-year-old house. And so the 18-year-old house opened just then. I went there, I worked at the florist, and I got out. Well, this was like November, and I was out in February. So I guess, yeah, but I had already been dropped. So I can't even remember why I was dropped, but I was done. So
did you go through Trail of Lights?
You know what's funny is I don't think I did, but you know how the one of the girls from Morava wrote a book, and it got kind of famous for a fast second, and now kind of, and I had it next to me, but I accidentally left it in the house. But yeah, she put me in Trail of Lights. Like, I was there. I don't remember being there though. I remember Gravel Pit, And we did another activity for Earth Day where we walked to town and then planted a tree. So it's like 12 miles, you know, and then every once in a while we were walking, they would have us like climb like the bank with all the roots sticking out and stuff. But I don't remember being there. Did you?
Trail of Lights, the graduation ceremony
Oh no,
at Spring Creek.
Is that what they called it? Oh
Yeah,
my God.
When I was there, it was like they didn't crowd surf you at the end when you graduated.
No, and the Trail of Lights when I was there was like gravel pit. If they would take you in the middle of the night and make you hike through the woods. And do
Yeah,
stuff.
that's what they did. That blindfolded. That's what they did for us too. But then you got but then you didn't get crowd surfed by the facility.
No.
Oh hell no! They greased you. Oh fuck no!
They did not.
That was like the one good part of the whole program for me. Like the one thing. Like
no.
Wow, unbelievable.
I have to tell you, like the whole Spring Creek, God, and at the end, especially the 18-year-old house, the woman who ran it, and I know there are people who know her, and she was like the main staff. There was two. One of them was Harmony, and she was okay, and the other one was Amy, and Amy was a bully, and I was miserable, and I think it was an awful experience for me, and I think at the end, like there was no fanfare. It was like, Jenny has been here for how long? And I had never been put in the Hobbit or in the OP at Morava. I had been put in worksheets and I had been dropped, but I'd never done anything like really, you know, I never tried to like sneak drugs or any of the other stuff that some of the other kids did. I was like a good kid, you know. I tried anyway, tried to do it right. But so yeah, it was just like, out you go. No fun. Yeah.
Okay. Did you read any good books when you were there? Did you have library privileges?
I remember reading a lot of books in Morava, but I don't remember. There was only a few books too. But I read like a whole really thick thing about Hawaii, like a history.
Mm-hmm.
And I read a bunch of Marcus Aurelius books. It really got me into philosophy. I read Ralph Waldo Emerson. There was only a few books, but it kind of got me obsessed. I'm still a little obsessed with philosophy. So, yeah, but I don't remember reading anything. Yes, because I remember the librarian. I loved her. So I must have. Yeah. I don't know if she was there when you were there. She was just the sweetest lady. Big hair, she kind of witchy. She was great. Yeah, I loved her. She was the woman who worked in the cafeteria, Gloria.
Miss Gloria,
yeah. She sang the Rose at my graduation. and the librarian was she did something for my graduation. Maybe she presented something to me. I can't remember. I actually found this picture. I was digging through photos of my graduation. Look at with the only two other people.
I graduated with one other person.
You did?
Yeah, one other person graduated with me. They were the last people. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just my high school. Like I still stayed after I graduated high school. So I know. But my mom was like, my exit plan was like $20, you can't come home, you know. So I thought, well, I'm so close to being done, right?
Yeah, why not?
I'll just suffer. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part about being there for you, and how did you deal with it?
Honestly, it was in general terms, it was just when I don't know. So being kind of a nerdy, awkward person, in general, I felt like it was very difficult to succeed, and I felt like Spring Creek was a mega popularity contest. I don't know if you felt the same, if it was like that when you were there. Maybe especially around the women, like the other girls, like they were, there were some that were just, they just rocked it. They were in and out so quick, could cry on command, you know, they knew exactly what to say. And I just could never, I never got there. It was like, I just was never, I don't know, cool enough, I guess. And it made it difficult for me when I got out, because it's to this day, because I still feel like so awkward, you know?
Definitely.
So yeah, that, and then there was some specific events that happened in the 18-year-old house that I found quite traumatizing. So I would say that those would be the most difficult aspects of it. There was probably a lot more. I mean, just being confined and having your freedom taken away, just fundamentally, right? Like, there's like this deep fear that it's kind of buried, but I still sometimes feel like I'm going to be stuck somewhere and never be able to leave, you know? So, yeah.
Okay. And how did you deal with it when you were there?
Okay. Not well, I guess. I don't know, you know?
Okay, not dealing with it.
I tried. I tried. I really did everything I thought I could. And you know how you've asked people before, like if they tried to make you think that you did something or that you didn't do, or something happened to you that didn't happen. And they did that a lot. I don't like because they said I was like, I don't know if it was my personality was like 8, like I acted like a little kid. And so they were like, you must have been molested, you know. I was never molested as far as I know, you know, but they kept pushing that until I actually like confronted my dad, and it was so awful, you know, and it never happened. It never happened. But those are the kind of things that so I didn't handle it well. And yeah, I didn't have the strength or fortitude like I felt like some of the other people did to handle all of that and get out of this scot-free. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. And do you remember your I am statement or your purpose statement?
I do. I am a strong, brilliant, carefree young woman.
Okay.
Or confident. I am a confident. No, I'm a brilliant, confident, carefree young woman. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Confident.
If you could go back in a time machine and not go through these places knowing what you know now, would you do it, and why?
I wouldn't go to Spring Creek. I would not. I would still go to Morava. I would. For all of its, I want to say too that the people who ran Morava, the owners, I literally met them like twice. I was there and I was the 6th girl, and I met them like twice. So there's all these people that are like, oh, I had such a close relationship with them, and they would obviously pick and choose who they would have a relationship with. And I think that had something to do with like the parents would get on them all the time and contact them, but my parents did not. So that actually ended up being a benefit, I think, for me, because I could just make it my own. Like, and I took out of Morava all this humility and gratitude. I learned to love food, and I still have some weird Czech Stockholm syndrome obsessions. Like, I bake the same bread, and Marie was talking about the penis bread. I make that at home all the time. Like, I still have like these Czech obsessions. But Spring Creek for me was like high school mixed with boot camp and a smidgen of abuse. Like, yeah. So no, I would.
Okay. Did you notice any grooming or sexual abuse towards from staff to student or student on student when you were there, or heard about it?
I heard about it. I did. I did hear, and I honestly thought it was weird. Even then, I thought this was weird that they would have some of the girls just randomly go to their house and babysit, Cameron and Chafin. I thought I really liked Chafin. Chafin was a really sarcastic guy. I thought he was funny. But Cameron was the one that all the girls were like, they would really like, they looked up to him like a dad, you know what I mean? And I don't know. I thought he took, taking kids for granted or taking advantage of them by having them as his personal babysitter. I thought that was very weird. And then I heard stories of other stuff happening with staff, but I've never, it hasn't been substantiated as far as I know. So.
Okay. And where are you with your parents? Have you talked to them about watching the program? Have you told them how it affected you? I've forgiven my parents, but I'll never forget what they did to me. So where are you with your parents?
Yeah, same. Both of my parents have watched the documentary, at least in part. My mom is like beside herself about it, she was really upset about it, blaming herself. My dad he kind of just went along with it for my mom, so he's been saying all along that he didn't think I should have gone there. Even like 10, 20 years ago, he was saying but they were both like really apologetic. Yeah, I mean, it's water under the bridge, I suppose, but you're right. It's like, I haven't really, there's still a part of me that feels like you didn't believe me all this time, It takes a documentary. It's always got to take like someone else telling you for you to believe what comes out of my mouth. So that's a little frustrating, but we're doing okay. Again, they're in their 80s, so I try to enjoy what time I have with them and move on, So, yeah.
And were you on medication before you went to the program?
What's funny is I think so, but I don't actually know. No, I wasn't. But when I was there was a psychiatrist that came through just one time, and he did an evaluation of me, and he put me on lithium because he thought I was bipolar. And it's funny hearing these stories because I'm pretty sure I was able to refuse it, and I never took it because I was already familiar with the side effects of that medication from my past, and I was like, I don't want to touch it. So it's interesting. I did see other people, especially at Morava, that like, you have to take it. They would watch you take it and do the whole thing with your mouth. So but for some reason at Spring Creek, maybe because he prescribed it, maybe my parents didn't agree with it. I really don't know the backstory of that. I get my wisdom teeth pulled, and they gave me some Norco. So I took that. That's the only time I've ever taken one of those. But yeah.
Okay. And what has been the hardest part about reintegrating into society when you got back? And did you have a life contract?
What is a live contract?
Usually they make you write it up before you graduate.
Oh yeah. We called it a home contract.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yes, I did. Yes. Yes. I cannot remember at all what was on it. I think that I had like a schedule, like, I couldn't see any of my friends for like 2 months, and I couldn't go out until this time. But bear in mind that I turned 19 like 1 month later, so there wasn't a lot of bearing on it. I didn't do great. At first I did okay. When I got out, I did okay. And then I got a job, and then I moved to Hawaii for a bit, and I went and traveled through Europe. So I did some really cool things, right? And then I got back and from Europe, and things took a massive slide, and I got into a really bad relationship, and was in that for a long time. And there's a cat. But now I'm good. I have a good job, and things are going pretty good. Except for like having to revisit all the program stuff. But I think it's important because you can't get through it, right? Without getting through it. So yeah.
Definitely. Talking about it definitely helps. Is there anything else you want people to know about your experience, or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Yeah. I would do two things. I think it's a good point to make sure that it's actually has like licenses and licensed professionals on staff. I also think that it shouldn't be longer than like 3 months. I think 2 years is insane. You know, talk about complex PTSD. I mean, everyone's gonna have it, at least a little bit. We were put in prison for no crime. So you have to think of that. If you're going to send your kid off to that, you're sending them to prison, worse than prison, because in a way, because you don't have any freedom at all. Like, at least in prison, they don't have to heel toe and they can watch TV. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend it. But I have 2 young kids, and I don't know what I would do if things got really bad for them, but that would be the last thing on my list, you know. At least for me, I think my parents did it just because they just wanted me out of their hair. Like, couldn't deal with it. You know what I mean? And I think for a lot of kids, it was that. Just, I can't deal with it. You know, go somewhere else so I don't have to look at you anymore. So.
Definitely. And is it, knowing what you know now, is it your belief that the remaining schools should be shut down, or if they could be fully regulated, do you think that should be an option?
Oh, I don't think it's possible to take the design that they currently have and regulate it into some compliance. Like, I think if they're going to do it, they need to start fresh with a completely new. And I honestly have never seen or heard of a place that was successful of this level, especially for longer than a couple of months. So I would say shut it down and maybe figure out a different way to design these programs that doesn't have anything to do with, like, what is it, LifeSpring and all the crazy culty weird seminars, like, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you ever want to do part 2, just let me know, like, take notes, and we'll do a part 2.
Yeah.
And sorry for the coughing, people. My allergies are acting up. So there's just that shit I just got to deal with. So hopefully it wasn't too distracting, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace out, guys.
Yeah. Happy 420.
Happy 420.